make sure you hit subscribe. It's right over there, I swear. Or maybe it's there. It's one of them. It's a button. It's red. Click it. 12-year cornerback in the NFL and a damn good one. A 2-time Super Bowl champ. Now he's doing some work for the Steelers. He's at camp in Latrobe, which I love. Okay, so let's start with this. You said you're scouting. What is your role?
Evaluating the players, giving my intake pretty much on every position. So Omar in the scouting department, they give me some guys to look at, and I got to present a presentation to them. So just giving them my player standpoint on in my verbal language, because the scouts, they got their own little verbal language, they got their own book, they got their own way of saying stuff. So I just say it how I would say it to you. I would say it how I would say it to my homeboys. I would say it how I would say it in the barbershop. So, some of my vocabulary is a little bit different from theirs, Colin. So, but I think they like it. I think they like the change of it. I think they like the swag that come with it. And I try to say things to where anybody can understand, whether you're 5 years old, whether you're somebody who's 87 years old. I just try to paint that picture as well as possible. So that's what I'm bringing around. That's what I'm bringing to the table.
I love that. And I love organizations that do that. Rams have brought in Andrew Whitworth to just watch the young guys play. Say, Sean, watch his feet, watch his hands, basically just as a consultant. This is what I see 1 year. I love that. I think that's such a smart, because players, I always say you can't lie to players. Like,
correct.
A cornerback needs to have courage and a short memory. And an athlete is better than a scout at seeing lack of courage. Like, you can see fear, right? Like,
correct.
What do you look at when you look at a DB? Like, obviously Minkah Fitzpatrick is a very good player, but what jumps out to you that maybe a scout wouldn't notice?
I look at how he responds after a bad game. That's the first thing I want to see. Hey, give me his worst game. And they'd be like, why? Because I want to see his game after that. That's going to let me know everything about him. Or give me his worst first half. Or his worst first quarter. Why? Because I want to see how he respond after that. Because I know when I was playing, that's exactly what my teammates wanted to see from me. Okay, Ike, you got your ass whooped the first half or the first quarter. How you going to respond? Okay, now I got to get these boys what they're looking for. So that's exactly what you want to see from a defensive standpoint. How do you respond in adversity? And like you say, Colin, man, you just got to have a short memory. It's easy to say that. A lot of guys tend to hold on to it. The great ones let it go.
So how long would it take you to know, as a DB, Kenny Pickett, Trubisky, what would be the tells? How long would you know? And could you go to the staff and say, hey, listen, man, this kid's release is faster. Is it quick? Do you know instantly? Is it a series of throws? Is it a dozen practices?
It's that playbook. It's that playbook and just letting it go. Because it's a lot of guys in the league with okay arms. They just know where everybody's supposed to be because they understand the coverage and what beats the coverage, and they just let that thing fly. So you can have a quick release and still hold it because you really hesitating because you ain't trusting your reads on the coverage. Right. And you can have a guy who has an okay arm and knows everything about the coverage and knows everything about the playbook and release that thing a second faster. So between these two, and this their first training camp between the two, so I'm just looking at the release, and not even the release. How fast can you diagnose what defense we're in? 1, 2, who commands the huddle the best? But when I'm looking at Mitch and Mason and Kenny, man, all of them got love for each other. So all of them damn near in the same situation, Colin. we all trying to show this presentation not only to the coaching staff, to each other and my teammates on who should be number one. But it's all love from that quarterback situation. So that's a good thing to see.
Listen, Big Ben's going to make the Hall of Fame, 2 Super Bowls. But I agreed with Cam Hayward. I bristled when he talked about Coddled. And I've talked about this a lot in the last week, Ike. Don't confuse rich or wealthy with coddled. Athletes are richer today.
Right.
I've never seen guys put more money into their bodies, eat better, compete harder, play hurt more often. I don't think athletes at all. In fact, I think most athletes know they're grateful as hell. They know this money train ends.
Right.
I almost never watch a football game in America, maybe other sports are different, and think he's dogging it. I think football players from high school on are used to hard coaching. Sometimes basketball players aren't. So what I found ironic was, and I'm not trying to pick on Ben, but Ben was pretty well known. His off seasons weren't Brady's. They weren't Russell Wilson's, right?
Right.
They weren't Breeze. And my takeaway is, the truth is, the fans didn't call him out. The media didn't call him out. Mike Tomlin didn't really call him out. My takeaway is, Ben at times became a superstar in a small market. Could I argue he was a little coddled sometimes?
All quarterbacks at that level are. Colin, how many years Ben played? 18? It's hard to play at this level for 18. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to have a regular job for 18, let alone a professional job for 18. Yeah. But those guys in that situation, you got to understand their representation and the CEO of this team. And it's a lot of pressure, so they got to be wired a little bit different. Whether it's offseason, like some guys, like you say, Tom Brady, offseason, man, he want to make sure he take care of his body and make sure he's eating as healthy as he can. He got the avocado ice cream. He doing everything right. 7 ain't have to worry about that. Tom Brady would never be 7. 7 would never be a Tom Brady. So they're wired a little bit different. For Ben in his offseason, he want to chill with his family, drink a few brews, and kick back and go camping and play golf. That's just how he was wired. Now, later on in his years, it probably caught up to him because 7 couldn't be the 7 no more, which once scrambled, made plays, and extended plays. But the man played for 18 years. You might didn't like how he played his 18 years, but he still played at a high level for a long time for 18 years.
I said Mike Tomlin is like a grown-up, but he's also a former player, and I always feel like he's pro-player. He'll give players a little leeway.
Right.
I feel the same way with Pete Carroll.
Right.
As you know, some pro athletes take advantage of that. I think there's times that Pete Carroll's been taken advantage of. I think there's been some instances where Mike's been taken advantage of.
Right.
Antonio Brown, I think to me was, I think when Ben lashed out, was he lashing out? If he'd have taken Antonio Brown out of the Steelers all time, maybe that comment doesn't come out. Like when Ben said that, do you think it was directed at anybody in particular? I mean, he mentioned his college coach in Cowherd. He didn't mention Tomlin. Do you think Ben was frustrated with how Tomlin sort of let AB do his thing?
I mean, the pot can't call the kettle black. I mean, 7, you did your thing. You had a long leash as well too. AB had a long leash as well too. And I think you really don't. I think us athletes, it hurts when we know it's coming to an end. We just get mad at the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, I'm about to retire in my 30s. I've been the man since I was 7 years old. I've been having a red carpet treatment since I was 7. Now, y'all about to just sweep that off from under me. I can never get this moment. I can never get this high. And what I mean by high is seeing and hearing the crowd, 6,000 to 8,000 cheering your name. I can never get on this stage again. So for a lot of athletes, it becomes frustrating. They become mad. It's anxiety. They don't know what to do with it. Now you just got to face reality. And some face reality longer than others, faster than others, and some just never can get it. Like me, Ryan Clark, and Troy. Me and Ryan Clark always talk about Troy Polamalu. He was Michael Jackson, and we was the Jackson 5. So we understood as soon as we retired, like, man, reality been sat in with us because we acknowledge how special Troy was and how good of a person and a player he was. When we retired, man, it was just like, okay, what's our next move? It was never reaching for the red carpet. It was never reaching for the spotlight. A lot of guys can't adjust to that, Colin. So 7 in that standpoint, for me, 7, how I would say the pot can't call the kettle black.
Yeah. Yeah, he got some rope. He had his issues as well.
100%.
You look at that division now. Burrow looks like a star. Lamar's totally dynamic. Here comes Deshaun Watson.
Right.
You know this, Ike. You can't have the 4th best quarterback in a division. Like, that shit don't fly.
Not this one.
Burrow, Lamar, and Deshaun are going nowhere.
Correct.
How long do you give Kenny Pickett? How long does it go? Because in this league, Belichick lost Brady. It is overnight, not the same franchise.
Correct.
How long of a runway will Kenny Pickett get, in your opinion?
Man, he got it right now. He got to sit. Right now, he got to sit behind Mitch and Mason. Like, he working with the third. Like, you know, we looking at Mitch, but Mason like, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all got me effed up. That's how Mason look at it. So I wouldn't right now. I wouldn't start him if we had to play. I wouldn't start him right now. My personal opinion, I wouldn't start Kenny. I would start Mitch first, then Mason, then Kenny. That's the route I would go. And the only reason why I would do that is because I want the game to slow down to him in his reads, you know. And this is his first training camp. This is all other than Mason Rudolph. This is their first training camp, but I just need to see. I need to build his confidence, you know. Unless I change my offense, if I just want to throw him in there, which I don't think he's ready right now, and I'm talking about Kenny Pickett. If I just want to throw him in there, man, hey, we about to run the ball. Hey, Najee, you about to get your 500 carries. Hey, tight ends, we're gonna run two tights. We're gonna run play action pass. Defense, we're gonna rely on y'all heavily. So it just depends on Mitchell Trubisky. In my mind, I think Mitchell Trubisky is going to start for the season, and really ain't really nothing you can do about it. I thought we was behind the 8 ball when they drafted Lamar. When Baker was over there at Cleveland and Lamar was getting the MVP, I thought we was already behind the 8 ball. Everybody was getting mad at me when I was saying, man, we need to draft a quarterback, because I'm looking at Lamar Jackson and I'm looking at Baker Mayfield at the time. Like, these boys getting to the playoffs and Pittsburgh can't beat them. So I've been looking at this part. So now it's really catch up. You know, you got some guys who are well seasoned. You got Joe Cool, aka Joe Burrow. He just lost in the Super Bowl. Lamar come back. We already know what he's doing. He's already a former league MVP. And Deshaun Watson, man, you dropped the man in Cleveland. He's never had that offensive line. He's never had that 1-2 punch at the running back position. He's never had tight ends like that. He's never had a defense like that. So we can only imagine. They won't ask Deshaun to do too much if he does come back early, other than hand the ball off, get in your rhythm late in the season, and we'll take over from there. But now Pittsburgh, they stuck in the pickle. And I feel like they just put themselves in the hole a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I felt 2 years ago they should have gone and gotten a quarterback. And, you know, Ben was a little sensitive to it. You know, it's funny. Like, I remember when LeBron was in Miami, he wanted to draft Shabazz Napier because he had a really good tournament. And they did, and it didn't work out. I think Aaron Rodgers wanted Randall Cobb. Well, because he was his friend, he liked him, but they overpaid for him. I think you should listen to a quarterback's opinion, but I don't think players should be telling you who to draft. And I do think, and I think the Steelers are well run, Ike. But a couple years ago, I would have just said, Ben, Bradshaw got replaced too. Aikman got replaced too. Like, so you and I are on the same page. They really should have been aggressive 2 years ago.
No, 100%. I was thinking 3, Colin. I was thinking 3. You give Ben maybe 2 more years, and you get whoever the young quarterback would have been ready to roll, would have been ready for this competition between Lamar, Deshaun, and Joe Burrow. That's just my thoughts. So you got to keep up to what, if you're not dominating and you're the older quarterback in your division, as an organization, you got to keep up to your division, especially at that quarterback position. You have to. You know, just look at the AFC West. You got to keep up with the quarterbacks. You know, they're in the AFC North right now. You got to keep up with the quarterbacks. We're a couple of years behind.